Hey guys, IXL's Ronimuck back here. Just going to be giving you guys a quick talk about the Warp Prism and how it's going in TVP at the moment. We're going to have a game where I played with Grims, and he tried to utilize this Warp Prism play, but he did this style to me 2 days ago and it destroyed me. I had no idea how to really prepare for it. It kind of came out of nowhere. He was just doing multi-prong attacks with Warp Prisms and Death Balls and Protoss Warp-ins here and there, and I just got really flustered and I fell apart. But in this game, I take complete control and I stay in control. And I want to show you guys exactly how I did that and how to prepare for these kind of things. So we're going to jump in this real quick. Did get a new keyboard, so bear with me. It is the Black Widow Tournament Edition. Much different compared to my original TT Mecha keyboard, which was probably about 50 centimeters long. Now everything's nice and close and I can micro a lot better, so I'm getting used to that. It's fantastic. Alrighty guys, here we go. So yeah, just to quickly summarize, Warp Prism's a little bit ridiculous. I'm not going to even lie in that aspect at all. They are so fast. Late game TVP I think is going to become incredibly hard and difficult, not to mention the ability to implement the Warp Prism now in TVP in anywhere from 9 minutes onwards, maybe even faster if you're doing like a one base 4-gate all-in with a robo and you just go Warp Prism and just go straight into their base and like warp in. Maps like Newkirk Precinct are fantastic for that. But in this game, what I did do is a very TVT kind of build. I went for a 12-14 racks with gas and went for 2 racks Reaper. And basically what this allowed me to do was assume map control, kill outgoing stalkers that are generally by themselves, and basically force his units at home rather than have them being aggressive on my side of the map. So it's fantastic. Sometimes you can just outright win or do a significant amount of damage if they've already committed their their mothership core on your side of the map. Like, sure, it's going to be a pain to deal with on your end, but Reapers kill probes faster than the mothership core will kill your SCV, so you'll be able to defend that. Anyway, build follows as 10 depot, 12 racks, skip SCV, go for 12 refinery, then start producing SCVs, go to your 14th SCV, then produce your second racks. Obviously this second racks you would want to hide somewhere, so that way it's not that much revealed to an opponent who might do something like a 9 pylon scout. Of course this isn't the most craziest spot to hide a racks, and Protoss players might find it out, but the implications of the build remain the same. He'll see it and he'll have to go, okay, now I have to be defensive, which means he might delay his expansion, but he's still going to go for his stalkers, or he might even go for a sentry because he doesn't know what's going on. And if he goes for a sentry, it's fantastic. Get up there and snipe that little bugger. Alright, so I'm going to start our first round of Reapers. I'm just getting my Orbital Command Center. This is Star Station, so it's fantastic for this kind of build. I don't really know many other maps that I would recommend it on that work as well as Star Station. You might be able to get away with it on some of the other maps like Belshare, but you'd have to be really micro-focused, and if, I suppose, they put their mothership core in the right direction, they could slow it down, or they could put pylons, or block the pathing of the Reapers in some form. But Star Station's a fantastic map to do this on. Just to go back and touch base, Protoss these days are playing a lot more with gas-centric builds, that it's a lot harder for you to really tell what's going on. There are obviously cues like missing the third pylon, but even some Protoss have figured out how to metagame that now, so it's getting to a point where Terran need to find a way to about being aggressive and yet still be able to have enough to be defensive if anything was to be thrown at them. So I'm just getting up here and being annoying. I picked off 1 probe on gas, and this is fantastic because, one, if he doesn't notice, it cuts down his gas supply, and if he does notice, he has to commit a little bit more labouring work with his micro to go replace it. So those are just little things at the moment, until I build up at least 4 to 5 Reapers. Generally you only want 4. 4 is a pretty magical number. And then you want to follow this up with getting your add-ons on your barracks, so that's like your tech lab and your reactor. I'm obviously getting your expansion. I've got map control, that's why I can do beautiful things like this. I see this little probe come out, I'm like, no, you stay at home, no vision for you, I don't want you on my side of the map at all, because I want to play a little bit greedy. I followed this up with a engineering bay instead of going for a third racks, because I wanted to go for a mid-game upgrade-centric style. I think this is kind of one of the best ways of doing it as well, especially when you open up with this sort of style of build, because you will delay things like upgrades. So what I'm looking for at the moment is, I'm keeping map control, and I want to try and normalize everything. Like normally, your upgrades would start at around 7 minutes if you were going for a 3 racks build, so this time I'm kind of doing it a little bit earlier, with 2 racks, because I invested a lot more gas and wasted those miners on mining gas to get the Reapers out. So get up here, do another poke, I see the additional gateways, I see the Robo, so he looks like he's playing for a very standardized build at the moment. His tech choices can be either into Colossus or Twilight at this point, as well as getting upgrades for his army, or deciding on how many gateways you might want to go. You might want to go for like a 7-gate Robo all in, but this is why it's important to keep the Reapers alive and to keep poking up and seeing what's coming out of this his gateways. And generally what you should see are Stalkers. If he commits to things like slow moving units like Zealots and Sentries, you can just run around them and just do damage. Like I jump up here and I'm like, oh shit, there's a bunch of Stalkers, alright, get out of there. I lost 2 Reapers. Not the best, but it's still keeping him at home. Right, so getting my factory now. I want to try and get to that like 9-10 minute where I've got stim combat shields and medivacs, but obviously we'll just have less bio. In that essence, that less marines. Get up here, kill a worker or 2, bugger off. It still allows me to aggressively scout because Reapers are really fast and nimble. Also pay a lot of attention to them, because it gets to a point where I get lazy and I leave them at front of his base, which I think they're doing now, and Stalkers come out and chase him. Yeah. Exactly that, so I gotta run them, and I lost another Reaper. And it's like, ugh. Right, run them around, take another watchtower. I'm going for my 2nd engineering bay. Obviously there's no aggression going to be coming my way, because he wants to play passive and just do like the standard 2-base Protoss, get the upgrades, probably get Colossus at this point. Like that's where I'm leading. I haven't scouted it out yet. It might even be best to drop something like a scan at this point, but I haven't just yet. Get my armory, I've got watchtower control, I don't see anything moving across the map, so I'm just playing pretty fluently, pretty nice, just working on my macro. Obviously supply blocks could be an issue, as I'm 62/70 right now, and I don't think I'm building a supply depot. Nope. Get back up here, still more Stalkers, the Robo's going, you know, this could be Obs, Warp Prism, Colossus. So I've got to keep a mindful eye out. I've still got the watchtower, which is fantastic. I see an Ob come into my base, I'm like, oh, did I get it? Yeah, I killed it, fantastic. I'm getting my medivacs, it's 9 minutes 40. This is evening out to be pretty nice. I've obviously got a faster third gas geyser because I'm committing more to my upgrades and my research in that essence. But I'll be looking to take a 3rd base at around 11 minutes. 11 minutes 30. Oh, look at that, a Warp Prism. Okay. This is interesting. If he's going for a Warp Prism, that means he probably doesn't have a Colossus yet, so it might be at a point where you want to scout or drop a scan. My mindset at the moment is like, alright, I'll just deal with the Warp Prism. I'll make sure I'm sitting on my 3 bases. I'm still getting my upgrades. I've got a decent amount of bio at the moment, and he's not pushing. He's not being aggressive with AoE yet, like things like your Templar. There might very well be a Templar in that Warp Prism, so that's why I want to make sure that Storm Drops aren't going to come in and wreck me. I've obviously got defensive turrets, because he could have switched it up and gone for things like DTs. DT expands are also becoming fairly more common now. I'm doing a nice little push across the map because I'm comfortable that I have enough, or have adequate defense in terms of DTs, Storm Drops, because I've got mines and turrets everywhere, so I'm going to go poke him. I want to see what he's doing. I'm going to take a 3rd in this time, so it's around 11 minutes 30, like I said. And I'm going to do a multi-prong attack. So I get out here, I see an Archon, alright. Cool, focus fire the Archon down, it's the most expensive unit. The Zealot itself might do some damage, but what you want to really do is just do economic damage and force out things like the Mothership Cannon. Reapers are gone in, and they pay for themselves immensely. They do a significant amount of damage. LEDs do some nice, you know, little kiting and everything with the units. Back away. I've seen that he's gone for a 3rd base. My macro is actually been quite terrible at this point because I'm too busy worrying about microing, sorry. I hear warping of units. I didn't know whether or not he's going to warp into Sentry, so I just lifted him up in the dropship and landed. Because generally what you might see is happen is a Protoss will warp into your base, and then they'll force field the ramp and you can't get in there again. So just to prevent that completely, I just lifted up in the medevac. I pulled some SCVs now to help deal with this because I didn't feel like I had enough units, and now I've got to chase this warp prism around while it starts being really, really annoying. Now the Reapers are still in his mineral line doing damage, and he cleans them up now. But if we pause, I've killed 31 workers. Done significant damage just by doing multi-prong drops. Now my macro, terrible. I should have added 3 more additional racks in that time. I should have spent less time focusing on the little army and trying to kite from like 4 or 5 zealots when I probably should have just gone attack, 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 go back home, build my racks, do my macro cycle, and then go attack. So these are little things I'm going to start working on myself. Obviously now the priority is being defensive and watching where this warp prism's going. I've got his mines out now. They're going to start covering small entrances where he might be able to get tricky and put some warp pins. I'm obviously building some turrets on the left hand side of my base as well. You can see over here, adding on down my additional racks, I can see he's going heavier for the charge lots, so I'm going to start getting things like Hellbats and continue producing my bio. I'm getting my Ghost Academy because I've seen Archon, so charge lot Archon seems to be the case. That's the armor composition he feels that he's going to start using. He's still committing more and more charge lots to my base, so I'm going to do things now like drop back into my main, don't run around, lift up in the medevacs and get it back on top of them, because otherwise they're just going to wreak too much havoc and they're going to start pulling you apart. Hellbats do a fantastic job at dealing with things like that. I've even got a bunker on my mineral line. He's doing another large warping, which is a pain in the ass. So he's just keeping me on my side of the map and doing damage to me while he's recovering. That's kind of what's happening, and my macro is still falling apart in this. Obviously you guys should be taking this on board to realize, okay, this is just a multitasking thing. This is just one of those things you've got to get used to and you've got to build and grow from. Alright, so I'm setting my tech up. This is fantastic at the moment. Getting it all going. Still got to watch out for this warp prism as I haven't killed it, so I'm going to keep adding things like turrets. So make sure I keep chasing down and making sure these zealots aren't doing any damage. Like realistically, they haven't done too much. They've killed a bunch of units and they've killed some SCVs. But he's committing so many mineral resources to trying to do damage to me that really isn't achieving much at all. So I feel quite comfortable in the situation. I'm going to take a 4cc. I'm going to add down some additional turrets in case he wants to drop on top of the mineral line. And I'm going to just clear out my mindset now and go back to macro. The aggression is over. He didn't really do too much. Like, what did he really achieve? He bought himself some time. That's as far as I see it. He did some damage. He might have evened out the workers killed a bit. No, he didn't even do that. So my reactions were pretty good in that essence. He didn't snipe any of my tech. And I'm still powering ahead. Like he should be looking at going into a transition into Colossus. Or he should be trying to power up on Charge Lot Archon, and he might do a big frontal assault with Storm. So I've got to watch out for that. So I'm just doing a counter-attack now. I'm like, well, if you want to be like that, I'll be like that. Back to you. I'll go kill some more workers. You know, obviously he pulls some of them as well. Alright, Nexus Cannon. We'll get out of there. We'll just be annoying and keep him on his side of the map. Burn things like Photon Overcharge. Because if I want to do drops in future, I don't want him just to have that ability there. I want him to waste it so he's not doing anything. This was a really nice catch. Burning up all damn probes. Pretty lovely. I don't know whether he slitted them or whether he did that. This was huge! Oh my god, the storms. So beasty. Even get out here, my didn't even get to really control that ghost. It was terrible. I tried to lift off and land, but the storms just stacked and killed everything. I've got to pull SCVs in this case just because I don't have anything. And because he's got no more buffer, like his zealots, they're over here. They're spazzing out on this one bunker that's got an SCV in front of it, it's repairing it. So SCVs in this instance are really good for dealing with Archons and Immortals because they can get the circumference around them. If you can't get a circumference on the Archons are just going to sit there and splash all your units with their crazy laser beams that come out of their wrists. So Gets on this, I get the EMPs on because I was already building ghosts, and then this dies relatively quickly while I'm continuously to produce. So right now he's doing damage, but is not killing me, and at the same time I'm still dropping Hellbats in his base. Oh, Hellbat drop. There we go. Lift it up. Mothership Core's doing some damage to that. Land that in his third base, so get some more pro kills, which is fantastic. Obviously, can't do too much there. I see him warping in Zealots, so my medevac's free to leave. Excuse me. So focus now is just to, again, clean slate. I've got my sensor tower up. I cannot stress enough to you Terrans out there who need to start building things like sensor towers, because unless you're like MVP and you have the multitasking to dedicate to spreading out units like crazy, sensor towers create the perfect medium in allowing you to see oncoming attacks. It's just an easier way to quickly glimpse in your minimap while you're going through your macro cycle and see potential aggression coming your way. Things like mines are also a fantastic way of doing that. If you spread mines out and attack paths, it just allows you to see. It's kind of like the creep spread and the observer versions for Terran. But alright, so we killed my sensor tower. Oh no, I didn't. I'm just building another one there because I'm just going through this weird phase where I'm like, I'm gonna have these things, I'm gonna have these things to make sure I'm prepared. Yeah, there. Oh, Mothership Core, get in here. Oh, dropping this mineral line. He reacts really well to this, but he comes back with his probes. Like, he did a big drag click and A clicked back there, so I killed a bunch of probes there. And at the moment, the supplies speak for themselves. Like, we're sitting at 144 to 87, and this is purely because he was over aggressive and didn't achieve anything. And I started getting to a point where I had a lot of Marauders and I had a lot of Hellbats and I was getting Ghosts, and I still didn't see any Colossus transition. Look, we can go to his base and there's still no Robotics Bay. And I've been pretty active with my Hellbat drop as well, which is aggressively scouting his base and seeing for these crucial tech structures. So he tried to buy time by being aggressive, but I kind of held the aggression really well. Didn't take as many losses as he did, as it's 58 workers killed to 40, so I slowed him down a lot. He's currently on 3-1 upgrade, so even his upgrades were really affected by my drops. And I just go for a big counter push. I could have had more medivacs. Obviously, you've seen before my macro wasn't as good as it could have been, but he taps out, he realizes that it's over, and that's game. That's how you hold off those kind of aggressive warp prison plays. Utilize things like your medivacs, utilize things like, even use some mines at the beginning of the game. Like, with me, Widow Mines in TVP should either be used as spotters, or they should be used to deny things like dropships and oracles. And then as you expand and your circumference of your base gets larger, you should be using things like sensor towers, and then using the Widow Mines on the outlying areas of attack paths. So you can see like the Death Ball coming from the right. Neo Planet S is a perfect example. I've seen Flash do it plenty of times, and I completely agree with the idea of using Widow Mines as spotters. He'll put them on the two main ramps that go on either side of the map. Ooh, excuse me. That about wraps it up. If you guys have any comments, please leave them below. I'll make sure to check them. I will write up the general build order, but you can also find that on Gosu Builds. It's just a TVT build order. I just applied it to TVP because I like the effect it has on my opponent. If he was to go for things like oracles, he would have a stalker at home, and it'd be really, really really easy to identify that he had nothing. And depending on how many corners he would cut getting to that oracle, say if he was to cut the stalker and cut the mothership core, this oracle would get at my base at like 4 minutes 50 if it was proxied. Like, that's crazy fast oracle, and I had that happen to me the other day where the Protoss skipped everything and went for oracles. Yeah, this Reaper build, you would get there and you would identify, okay, you've got nothing, what's going on? Immediately throw down an engineering bay. Delay your expansion, throw down the engineering bay just to be safe. It's the same when you use those Reapers, and if I was to get up there around 4 minutes, and I didn't, 4 minutes to 6 minutes, and there was no sign of any expansion. 5 minutes 30 is generally when Protoss should be dropping their expansion. It could be a little bit delayed, it could be a little bit later or earlier, depending on what they're doing, but a solid structured Protoss should be dropping their expansion at 5 minutes 30 roundabouts. And if they're not doing that, assume one base play. An engineering bay is never a bad thing to do. And if you've got aggressive Reapers from a 2 racks, he shouldn't have anything. He'll have a Stalker. He might be going for a second Stalker. But when you get those 4 Reapers, you can get up there and DPS down a Stalker, and it'll force him out more units. And you'll just get a general feel of what he's got. He'll have a Mothership Core and 2 Stalkers, that's it. He might not even have that. He might even be able to get to 3 Reapers and overpower him before he can do other things, because he want to invest his tech. He want to invest into tech. And so he won't have units. So I don't know. It's a really fantastic build. I haven't really gone out of my way to test this with oracles just yet, but I'm going to keep playing around with it and see what happens, and then I'll keep producing more videos for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I am back. Still not unwell, but making videos for you guys because you guys are amazing. And I love the support, and I want to see Terrans really dominating the ladder. So yeah, thanks guys for tuning in. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, ask me questions, leave comments.